Yo! I have a Ford Mazda3 car thing here. The story goes, the guy bought it with a slipping clutch and now it does nothing, so I guess I'm going to put a clutch in it. I'm going to start by taking all kinds of stuff off the top so I can get at this stuff on the top. The hood prop's going to be in my way, so I got a tire holding the hood open. It's one thing Harley parts are good for. A hood prop. Got a battery box here. Cheesy little plastic tabs on that. Got some 10 millimeters. I always take the negative off first, of course. There's supposed to be a battery hold down here, but somebody decided to use a piece of foam. I don't know what good that's doing, but whatever. There's a Phillips screw on your amp fuse that you probably will not have. There's a cover right here you got to take off. There's some cheesy little tabs on this cover you need to take off. You got to push in on this to take it off. Funky wires here. They're held in with funky clips. You got to squeeze those in with a pair of pliers and get these wires out of this battery box, because this box has got this center thing slides out of here. Another holder down here. Ew! Mouse stuff. 3 10mm bolts in this box. This computer's coming out with the unit. I'm going to get these wires kind of out of the way. And you got these little pull these up. It's like a little clip you push in so you can pull this up and get these out. And then the computer should come out with this box. You know what? I'm gonna leave that in for now, and I'm gonna take out this air box next. Couple clips here. Quick connects, you push in these tabs. Phillips screw or a 10mm on this intake tube. This funky little rubber thing, you pull up on it, and little bandoiler looking thing that just fell. I think this pulls right out of here. I found my bandoiler, or whatever you call it, thing. I'm going to stick some paper towelage in the throttle body because that's the kind of guy I am. Okay, now I can get this box out of here, probably without much of a hassle, I hope. I'm going to take this hold down everything tray off next, whatever you call it. There's a 10mm here for a bracket for this wiring. And there's 2 10mm right here. And there's 4 17mm. And this comes out. Okay, now I got a bunch of stuff attached to a bell housing that I have to deal with. Oh my god, what a friggin' mess. I got these rubbery, plasticky things on the shifter. They're just a ball, so if I just stick it just in front of it, I can pop these out of here. There it is. There's a couple 12mm on the back side of this bracket. And on this bracket, everything's attached to everything, so this is like a wheel speed sensor or something. I'll be unplugging that. There's a tab on this side. You push it in and you hear it click. On the inside of this, there's another one of them goofy connectors you push in with a needle nose to get out. This is the clutch line. And I got this bracket all unbolted. Everything's out of the way, so I can just kind of get it out of the way somehow. Be a good job for a bungee cord, I think. I'm going to unplug this. This has got one of them funky clips on it too. Whoops. Yeah, I broke that. Anyways, that's coming out with the transmission. Got funky clips tied onto everything in here. Got another clip right here. Got that one unplugged. There's a couple of 10 millimeters on this bracket. All kinds of stuff on this thing, like, oh my god. There was a 10 millimeter on this bracket I took off. It's a ground, and it's so rotted out. It's like really super flimsy. I need to be careful with that. Looks like it's ready to break, and I'm going to have to clean this up too, because this is all rust, so I don't know how good that ground is even working. This bracket, there's all kinds of stuff attached to it, and all of the clips that I need to push are on the bottom of it, so I'm just going to rip these things out, because I got to get this thing out of here. I don't see any other way of doing this. Stupid, stupid, stupid. This one I might be able to get out. I can't see it, but I can try to get it out. Stupid Ford Mazda stuff. One more I need to yank on. That one broke. I can get this out of here. I'm not going to take this ground off. I'm just going to take this bracket off. 12 millimeter. There, that should be out of the way. There's two 12 millimeters for this slave cylinder I think I can get at now with a swivel ratchet. I can get that out of the way. On a lot of these vehicles, it's a good idea to make damn sure you don't touch the clutch pedal at all. I'm going to tape this down just because. There. I can finally get at some of these bell housing bolts. They got two more bell housing bolts that are buried up next to your, Jesus. Buried up next to your Jesus. Yeah, it's touching this heat shield. I'm not taking half the car apart to get this heat shield out of my way, so I'm going to try to cheat and bend it. There's another one just below it. Looks like I can get it with a regular box end. There's a bracket and a bunch of junk in the way, so I can't get it all the way out, but it's unbolted, so I'm just going to leave the bolt lay in there. There's a tab in here. You got to push in on this tab. There's a whole lot of zip-tied clips on here that aren't made to come off without breaking. So you can try to get these off and try to save them if you're, I don't know, if you think you're a freaking car god or something. But they're really a freaking joke. So just pop them off. Try to be careful breaking stuff because it's a Ford Mazda. That one might be partially salvageable. Broke that one off. There's a mass airflow sensor right here. You can't really see it, but you just gotta push in this tab and you can pop this mass airflow sensor out of here. I'm just doing that to kind of get the wiring out of my way a little bit. There's a battery ground that's right here. Well, I got the ground off. I can see it. You might not though, because I got a broken mirror. But there's the nut for it right there. The dang piece is stupid. You just got to kind of find it with your socket. I got a 12 millimeter deep well on a swivel socket, 1/4 inch drive. And I don't see how I can get much fancier than that. I got an extension on a ratchet with a 12 millimeter. I'm going to get at this bracket bolt from the top. Okay, so I got that nut. That's all I'm going to get at from the top for now. Now, if you don't have a hoist and you're not a superstar like I am, you're going to have to get this thing up on jack stands or something and support it really well so you can get underneath the car. You're going to want to get it higher than the people that built this car, that's for sure. There's supposed to be some clips up here, I think. Some plastic clips here and there, but they're missing. So all I'm seeing is some 10 millimeters. And that one just spins, which is nice. And that one just spins too, which is even nicer. Yeah, this is some really nice Ford Mazda junk. Everything just spinning. A bolt on here that doesn't belong here. A whole bunch of crap. I can't get 4 of these bolts off, so I got to get under here and see why these people build junk. Look at that piece of nice Mazda Ford junk. This cheesy little clip supposed to hold everything in. Steel on steel. Right. Oh, sure, I can reuse that. No problem. Now that I got the cover off, I can get under here. And there's a solenoid wire here that I can just pop off. There's a little button here I think you got to push down on, but there's no way to get at it because Ford and Mazda are fucking backwards and stupid. And there's little clippy things on this plastic shroud thingamajigger here. You got to pull up out of the way. And then the positive wire comes off. It like clips on there because, I don't know, they think they're smart. They got another retarded clippy thing on here I can get at with a pair of pliers. It's got a big glob connector on it. I suppose if I really tried hard enough I could have got these clips out without wrecking them. That wouldn't be any fun. Yeah, you could probably get at those from underneath, I guess. I can get at this 12mm with a wrench. Then you can get this bracket out of here. 2 14mm. Let's start with the top one. You're going to need to support the engine somehow. You got to chain around both of the lifting points. And yeah, you can get these at Harbor Freight or Northern Tool or the online or wherever really. Unless you want to try to use like a 4x4 or something. It doesn't look like something like that's going to work though. I put a strap here too. It's not really tight or anything. I just did that to make sure it doesn't slide. Make sure it doesn't slide down the car. Now I can take off this top mount. See if this engine wants to fall out on me. It fell down quite a bit. I'm going to take the rest of this mount off. These are all 17mm down in here. 21mm on the tires. The axle nut is 1 1/4 inch, whatever that is in metric. I got a pinch bolt I got to take off on this. It's a 14mm. Get in here with a pry bar. Try to pull this out. There it is. Now I gotta pound this axle through. The drain plug for this is a 23mm. I put the drain plug back in. You can get a new crush washer for one of those if you like. I just got to get a pry bar in here and give this axle a pop. There are 3 14mm bolts on this axle. This is a 17. Okay, I got 3 19mm now. I got a 17mm here too I'm going to take off. That should be a fun one to line back up. Ooh. Spooky. I got one here that I'm going to get out with a 14mm swivel socket. Then I should just have this one bolt left. Oh yeah. Damn transmission wants to fall right out on me. So I want to leave that loose. Yeah, usually the only time they fall that much when I loosen up my last bolt is if that clutch is completely shattered. 12 millimeters on these pressure plate bolts. 19 millimeters on this flywheel. I like to hold on to this too because sometimes you just want to drop right out. I'm going to save a little money and get these pins out because the machinist always charges you to take these out. All you need is a good claw hammer. Just pound the thing in there and they pop out like that. This one's a little tight. I mired it up a little bit, but I'll just sand that down a little bit. Next thing I got to do is take out this pilot bearing. I almost never use a puller on these. What I do with most all of these pilot bearings is I pump them full of grease. The thicker the grease, the better. If you can find some really thick grease, it'll work really well. And then sometimes I use a 1/4-inch socket and I turn it around backwards and put the extension on the inside of the socket. Just so I can get the right diameter, because you want to get something that's as close to the same size as the inside as you can. I got a punch here that I found that's pretty close. I just hit it with a hammer. And when I do that, it should start driving the thing out. Putting the grease in there and doing it over and over and over again. There it is. Yeah, see, if you look here, one side's got rubber, the other side's got nothing. So you want the rubber side facing out because that's a dust seal. Then I just got a socket that's the same diameter. You want to try to get it on the outside edge, as much as on the outside edge as possible when you're putting this thing in. I'm just going to tap it in with a hammer as far as I can go. Just tap it nice and light because you don't want to wreck this cage. Don't go banging the thing in there. There, just some light taps until you think it's all the way in. That looks good. I'll leave it there. This guy thinks he needs a rear main seal, so I'm going to do one of those too. These are all 8 millimeters. Yeah, if you can see that channel in the block, it's fairly important to clean that. Yeah, you see that channel in the block? It's fairly important to clean that. Get all the sealant out of that you can. And the corners too are really important. I'm going to put some brake cleaner on a rag. Get this sealing surface around the crankshaft. Make sure that's dry and oil free. Wipe this surface down too with brake cleaner. You want to make sure there is absolutely no oil on this surface that you're going to put gasket sealant on. It likes to hide in the corners too and underneath the main cap. Got some ultra gray gasket sealant here. Probably only need about 1/8 of an inch bead or so. You want to go up just a little bit here. I'm going to let that set up just a little bit. You don't want to leave it sit for any more than like 7 minutes. I think I let this sit long enough. There's little alignment pins in here, so you can get them square with these 2 holes. And I made sure the crankshaft is completely dry. This kind of seal is supposed to be completely dry, and if you really want a good seal, they say you're supposed to leave it sit for a day sometimes. But yeah, leave this dry, don't lubricate anything. And you just put this around the crankshaft so it can hold itself. Slip this thing on. Just like that. I'm going to start these 2 first so it lines up in them pinholes. I'm just going to snug them down. And that did push this gasket down just a little bit. So I guess that's kind of cool in a way. I saw the sealant squishing I would imagine these probably don't get tightened any more than like 8 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to do them by hand. You should be looking up the torque specs for all this stuff if you really don't know what the heck you're doing. I'm going to get this Thrall Bearing next. Wow, this has got little clips on it. You just pull it out. I'll wipe this shaft off a little bit. Got some Honda urea grease. This stuff works really good. Put a little bit on this shaft. Don't need a lot. Just a little bit on this tip here and this tip here. I'm going to put a little bit in this ball too. They give me this spline lubricant, and I don't use a lot. You can barely see it, but there's little grooves on the inside of this. I like to take urea grease on this too and just kind of fill up them channels. It'll keep it lubricated for a really long time. I just want to do the channels too, so I'm kind of wiping out the excess that isn't in the channels. Click the thing in. Make sure both sides are snapped in. And of course you want to make sure you got the right clutch diameter. A Mazdaspeed 3, it's got a bigger clutch. And I'm going to make sure this thing slides in and out real nice. I'm just going to kind of work it in different spots. Going to get all that spline lubricant all over the place. If I got any excess, I can just wipe it off. So now I know that's going to slide in real nice. I'm going to be putting red Loctite on these threads. I'm going to torque these to 65 foot-pounds. I'm not going to use a torque wrench, I'm going to use a torque stick. There. Stick the pilot tool in there if you got one. Putting red Loctite on these little guys too. I'm going to need my fingers for this procedure. Yeah, I can move this clutch around a little bit. I want to just stick my fingers in here. I want to make sure that this is even all the way around. Get it perfect in there, and it should slide in and out real easy. Then I just want to snug these bolts down just a little bit. So I'm just going to tighten these in a circle just a little at a time. I just want to do it until they zero. And then final torque these to 20 foot-pounds. I just got to make it as level and as square as possible to put it in. Now if you think it's important enough to use torque specs for all of this, you go right ahead. I'm not going to. I've been doing this for way too long. The only thing I think is crucial is the flywheel and a pressure plate. And all the rest of this I'm just going to slam together. Like I say though, if you're you might want to use torque specs. I'm going to put this starter in from the bottom. I'm going to try to put as much stuff back on from under here as I possibly can. And I got my black taped up master slaver. Get one of them bolts started. Then I can just rip out my tape. Now I got to fill it up with fluid. This calls for 7590 GL4. GL4 is usually not synthetic, and I'm having a hell of a time finding it. I'm sure everyone else is too. I guess Amsoil might sell it, or somebody has some Redline crap you can buy. I looked around parts stores and stuff, I'm not finding it, so I'm just going to put regular non-synthetic 8090 in it. It says it's good for GL4, GL5, and it says it's good for manual transmissions too, so it's cheap. That's why I got it. I'm going to tell the kid what I put in it, and if he wants to change it out, he can go ahead and spend the $80 or whatever it is for the stuff that people say is supposed to be in here. I got a feeling it's going to be just fine, the 8090. Takes about 3 quarts. And it's done. I'm going to go drive it around. Okay, bye.